Why aren't people getting vaccinated at the same rate? The rates are decreasing. Officials say we need to move the needle, if so to speak, if we're going to reach herd immunity of about 70% of Americans. In the United States now we're at 64% with people at least one vaccination. As you know, we have this goal, the president does, to get everybody vaccinated, or 70% of people vaccinated by July the 4th. At least getting one shot. So let's talk about it. We found this survey, doctors, 5 big reasons why people aren't getting vaccinated. Dr. John Weary is here, the director of Penn Institute for Immunology, and family doctor Delana Wardlaw is also with us, Vox.com. So Vox.com posted these reasons. They did pretty extensive research over the last few months about why people aren't getting vaccinated. So let's go through them one at a time. Lack of access, real or perceived. So Dr. Weir, let's start with you. Have you heard that? It seems like it's available.
Yeah, I absolutely have heard that. And I think this has to do with, not being available in your community, not knowing where it's available, advertising access, but also, fitting into people's schedules. People have to work, making sure that people can get vaccinated after work, after hours, on weekends. And then, making sure that we get all the information out there and put the vaccines in places where people can get them. So there have been a lot of ideas about different kinds of stores and different kinds of access points in different communities. So we have to increase our efforts there. Dr.
Wardlaw, would you agree those are valid reasons not to get it?
Oh, well, those aren't valid reasons not to get it, but those are reasons that people are still having some issues with getting access to it. And also some people are also concerned about side effects and thinking that they may have to potentially take some days off of work. And the side effects are pretty minimal. So we need to really make sure that people are getting
we'll get to that in just a second. But accessibility, what do you say to people who say, I can't get it?
No, absolutely. The vaccines are available. We need to make sure that we are making sure people know where they are, making sure that we are advertising it, making sure we're giving clear information on how they can sign up for it or call for it, or walk into a place to get it. There are many places that you can walk in as well.
Okay, I can't tell you how many.
It's readily available.
I can't tell you how many people that say today on Twitter have responded and said, listen, it's 99% preventable here. I mean, I don't see it as a threat. That was the number 2 reason. And Dr. Wardlaw, let's start with you this time.
Well, COVID is a threat. We have almost 600,000 people dead in the U.S. alone. And it is not only is it a threat with death, it is a threat with long hauler symptoms. People who do survive we have to deal with long-term heart effects, long-term lung effects, long-term, stroke effects. And if you're lucky enough to survive death. So it is a threat, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to minimize that threat. And that means getting the vaccine.
Yeah, Dr. Weary?
Yeah, I completely agree. We have to remember your chances of dying of COVID if you live in the United States was 1 in 600. That's a real threat. But not if you get it, just if you're an American. And then the long hauler problems are really, really important. 5 to 15% of people who get COVID will have long-term symptoms that require medical attention and change your lifestyle. It's estimated in the United Kingdom now there are 200,000 or 300,000 people that have long hauler problems requiring continued medical attention.
Dr. We're going to stick with you on this number 3. Number 3 on the big list of why I'm not going to get it, the side effects.
Yeah, so first we need to be very, very clear and separate side effects from adverse events. Adverse events, things that are not intended from the vaccine that actually can cause some significant medical problems, are extremely rare. People have heard about blood clots. We're talking about 1 in 300,000 to 1 in 500,000 people having some kind of event like that. That's an extremely low rate. Your chances of something severe like that happening are really, really low. Now, side effects are different. They're what we intend the vaccine to do. That's your immune system working, and that's what you want.
What do you say when people say, I'm afraid of the side effects, Dr. Wardlaw?
The side effects we anticipate them. So one, we have to continue doing a good job of educating people of what to expect. But also, if you do experience some mild side effects, you can take some Tylenol and/or Motrin if it's safe for you to do that. And go ahead and it's only going to last for a day or 2, and then you can get back to your usual activities. So compare the side effects versus the potential complications of COVID. So we have to get this done.
Doctor, let's stay with you. Another one here was, I just don't trust the vaccine. It was put together so fast. I'm afraid of what it's going to do to me down the road.
Well, so again, we always have to look at long-term data, but we can't rush the clock, obviously. But we have millions of people who have received this vaccine in the United States, and we have seen a extremely small amount of rare adverse events, as Dr. Weary was speaking of. We do have to make sure that people are aware that this vaccine did not begin development in 2020. Messenger RNA vaccines have gone into development well over a decade ago. This is SARS-CoV-2. There was a SARS-CoV-1 in 2003. Vaccine development, this messenger RNA vaccine development started shortly after that. So we have well over a decade of research. So not new as people think it is.
Dr. Weary, you get the last one here. Conspiracy theories. I just don't trust the government.
This is an important one, and it's really difficult. I think we have to try to make sure to get good, accurate information out there, and also in the media and the public domain, really correct misinformation before it has a chance to become something more than it is. We have to make sure that people trust the vaccines, trust the institutions that are giving them, to minimize the misinformation and conspiracy theories from gaining hold.
Doctors, thank you very much. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
You got it.